Welcome to your Artsy Girl podcast. I am your host, Christina Carrere. This is a podcast about art, poetry, writing, and anything about creativity. Sit back, relax, and get your dose of brain food to get your creative juices flowing. Hello, and welcome to episode 61. Today's featured guest is John Compton. He is a 33-year-old gay poet who lives in Kentucky. He has published one book and 5 chapbooks. Trainride Elsewhere, August 2016, to be announced. From Pressed Wafer, Rouge Wolf Press. That Moan Like a Saxophone, December 2016. Ampersand, March 2019, from Plan B Press. A Child Growing Wild Inside the Mothering Womb, June 2020, from Ghost City Press. Burning His Matchstick Fingers, His Hair Went Up Like a Wick, Fall, from Dark Heart Press. To Watch All the Pretty Things Off My Skin, end of 2021, from Ethel Zine and Micro Press. He has been published in numerous magazines and anthologies as well. Everyone, please welcome my next featured guest, John Compton. Hi, John. Thank you for coming on the show. How are you today?
I'm good, and thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it was great to have a conversation with you on Facebook, kind of like a happenstance there. And I was looking for a podcast guest, and I saw that you were a poet, and I wanted to know more about you. So, but before we go into what you do in your writing and stuff, please tell me and the audience, like, where you're from and where you grew up.
I am from Kentucky, and I grew up in a small town my whole life, except for about the last year. I got married, and we moved about 20 miles away to our new house, which is kind of in the it's less country than I'm used to, but we fell in love with the house. So I live in a little town, and my neighbors were trees, so I love trees, I love nature, and I love the country, and I love the quiet. And
okay. I do too, quite honestly, and I kind of want to get away from it all and hide out in the country. Yeah. So, can you tell me, like, how did you get into writing and poetry?
Well, I was in school, and it was 2 days after 9/11, and I was in science class, and I was just scribbling stuff down, and someone's like, "Oh, you're writing poems," and so I was like, "Oh, what's poems?" I mean, I had an idea, but I really never, ventured into it. So I started, looking up poems and everything, and Anne Sexton was one of the first poets I was like really into, and so and then it became an obsession. After that, I've been writing for almost 21 years, and it's about the only thing I know how to do.
That's awesome. So, how many books now that you've published?
I have one book, Trainride Elsewhere, which was published by Pressed Wafer, and he, the publisher, Bill Corbett, unfortunately passed away.
Oh, no.
But it had a great run, and he was amazing and lovely. But so my book, though, is getting republished. Another publisher, the publisher loved it and was like, so he's republishing it. And Rouge Wolf Press, and it should be out maybe this year or the beginning of next year again, so it has another life.
Great.
And then yes, it's exciting. And I have three chapbooks that are officially published. The first one is a little one I did called That Moan Like a Saxophone, and I have it on Amazon because it's like a story poem, and I was really excited about it. And then the second one, and this was before the whole, Amazon started taking over the world,
right?
And all that crap. So, and then my second one is Ampersand, and it came out of March 2019 through Plan B Press. And then my recent one is the one I'm going to read out of, also called A Child Growing Wild Inside the Mothering Womb. And you can, and which is cool is you can download it as like a ebook for free. And it came out in July. Oh Lord, it came out a few months ago.
Okay.
And then I have three more chapbooks coming out in October of this year and March of next year and at the end of next year.
My goodness. So what is your experience? So all your chapbooks except one is self-published?
No.
On the opposite.
Around. One self-published, the other is through publishers.
Yes. So how's the difference between the self-publishing route and with the publisher?
The self-publishing route for me, and I'm not saying nothing bad, but it's really hard to advertise. So like it, and I have mine you can download for $1 because I wanted people to get it and not feel like they had to choose between something. But it's really like now I guess I have a better platform, but when I did it, it was really hard to advertise and it just sat there and went stagnant. And so now every once in a blue moon, like all of a sudden, people have found it now. I have like 10 or 11 sales or whatever, but yeah. So, and then with the publishing companies, they help advertisement and they also have their venue or, platforms, and then people like their book, so they see it more and everything. So and I don't know, when someone accepts and chooses to publish me, it gives me a good feeling that they believe in me.
Right. It's validation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, I'm trying to, like I told you earlier, I'm looking into just doing the self-publishing just to see how it is, and just to have something out there without any like limitations or anything like that, and see how it goes. Do you have your own website?
No, because and I'm technologically dumb, to put it nicely, and so I post all my poetry stuff on Facebook, and I'm gonna get a website eventually, but right now I just don't know. I don't know how to do it, honestly.
Okay. Well, that is kind of my expertise. I'm not like a web developer, designer, but everything that I've done practically, I created. So yeah, let's talk offline and see what I can do to help you out there.
That would be awesome.
There you go. So let's move on to your poetry. We want to hear your poetry. So can you share with us a few of them, and can you tell us like the premise of them?
Yes. So the first one I'm going to read is called Winter Poem, and it's out of my chapbook, the new one, Child Growing Inside the Mothering Womb. And I wrote it, it's kind of about like writer's block maybe, or just not feeling like you're producing good enough stuff. And like, I didn't think nothing of it as I wrote it. And it's been a lot of people's favorite poem. So that's why I chose to read this poem.
Okay.
Called Winter Poem. Mouth open, letting snow cover my burial plot of words, and fingers too cold to dig the tongue out, frozen corpse. The stature of teeth chirping a ruptured poem. And that's that poem. And then the next poem I'm going to read is also in the collection, and I am gay. If no one got that when I said I was married to Josh. And so I live in the small town in Kentucky, which is Trump town.
Oh, Lord.
So, but I don't care. I'm like, I'm gay, I'm happy, I'm married, here I am.
Right.
But growing up, I was bullied a lot and everything. So this poem is, and I'm so glad people understood it and they didn't take it like a anti-gay poem. So this one is called "We Seated Him Holy." You'll find him in a chair sequenced gay as vandalism. We used white rags and smoke to purify him, to bleach the sin, to poach the black resin from the heart skin, to bring him right by rules of man. His arms and ankles tied crosswise, the naked body, a rosary bead tucked in each wound. And that's that poem. Oh, and
Wow. That's powerful. I like the imagery on that one, and I have to say, I see a lot of Anne Sexton influences.
Yeah, someone, a bigger poet who found me. Before my first book was published, my publisher did a broadside, and there's this poet, Christopher Burst, and he read it and contacted me, and he gave me one of the biggest compliments.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome!
He told me that no, and he knew Anne Sexton personally.
Oh.
And he said, no, he's not read any other poet since Anne Sexton that uses the like metaphysical aspect and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes, and I was just like, and he didn't even know at the time, like I was obsessed with Anne Sexton. So I've kept that, and it's like my happy moment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that just gave me chills.
And I also want to say too that with that poem, I live also in the Bible Belt. So my house is literally in between two churches. There's a church in front of me and a church behind me. So.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's the struggle with the identity, being in the Bible Belt, I'm sure, right? And how is it now for you?
It's totally like they just ignore me because I was a Christian. That's why I write a lot about Christianity, because like I was one for like a long time, but it was like when I was younger and I was kind of like my parents weren't really religious, but my grandparents were. So they dragged me to church and all that stuff. And so I write about that because I know about it, and I don't feel like I'm not writing about something I don't know. So I feel like, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but I feel like I can write the bad aspects of it, because a lot of it is horrible. You know, they talk about loving people, and then they basically tell you you're going to hell and you're wrong, and yes, you know, push you and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. The hypocrisy of it all. Yes, I feel ya. So you have one more for us? Okay.
Yeah, one more. This one is called "How We Bury Fish," and it was published in the first issue of Transcendent magazine. I hope I got that right. And it was really cool to be in their inaugural issue. And this poem's really like it's close to me because I know it's about stillborn, having a stillborn baby, and I know a few people that's had it. So I try to be like loving when I wrote this poem. But I write a lot of like aspects of poems of being a mother. I'm not sure why. I just relate more to my mom and women and stuff. So this one, as I said, is called "How We Bury Fish." Motionless in my womb, I remember my fish. I was 8. It was floating belly up. I tapped on my stomach as a mother, a little girl trying to tap her fish from sleep. I gave birth to a stillborn. My father explained to me how we bury fish. I heard the toilet flush behind my sobbing. And that's that poem.
Okay.
And I won't go into detail on who, because, they may listen. But
yeah,
because it's really sad. And it wasn't like a horrible act. I know a person who had a miscarriage. And the line with I heard the toilet flush behind my sobbing is, like when you're younger and you got a fish and you had it for 3 days and it dies, you really don't have the funeral. You just flush it down the toilet.
Yes.
But also this person, they were using the toilet and they thought they had to use the restroom, and instead they ended up miscarrying, and they just panicked and freaked out, and they ended up flushing the toilet. But the baby was like, really tiny. It wasn't really fully developed. And so that also in that line, is more of than, it's multi-layered.
Right. No, that's what I gathered from that line myself. So yeah, I mean, it's really powerful and really sad. So what is next for you after this? You said you have 3 more chapbooks coming out. Are you going to do anything more full length, or what do you think?
I have a manuscript that is at Copper Canyon Press.
Oh my goodness.
They're
you
like
do?
a publisher. I've dreamed of them forever. And my friend who, Brooklyn Poets has, their group has a board where you can post poems. And so I found it and I was posting poems, and someone who works at Brooklyn Poets found me, and he's like, I really like your poems. And so we started talking, and then he edited my manuscript, and he's like, I really love your poems, and so I want to send it to Copper Canyon Press and la-di-da-di-da. And so it's there, and hopefully cross fingers that they love it enough to publish me. And if not, it will find a publisher. But God, it would be amazing.
That is amazing in itself. So this is a true testament to poets and writers to share your work widely, because you never know. I mean, it's for our own benefit, and as well sharing, beautiful poetry and art with others. And it goes to prove that that others do read it and are moved by it. And there you go. And then you want to, that's what you're doing, is actually networking. And there you go. I mean, that's how things happen, it seems. Sometimes you have to you have to take the chance and put it out there,
Yeah. And I don't like to talk about like that much, because like I try not to divulge all the details I know, because I also feel like it's cheating, and I don't want no one to be like, you know what I mean? Like, people work really, really, really hard, and then I just got lucked up. And not saying they're going to publish it, but I got lucked up in the hands of someone who works at there, per se. And so I also, like, I'm really excited, but I feel like I never want to be like egotistical or narcissistic. So I always feel like I don't really want to talk about that too much, because I don't want someone to feel like, oh, well, you're cheating.
Well, okay. Well, here's another thought about that. It's not necessarily cheating, because what happens is, like, when people go to MFA program, right? The whole premise of it is to be with your cohort, share your critique and you share your work, learn how to do all that. But the number one takeaway is that you are networking with, say, your professor who knows your work and will champion your work. So you have that aspect. So what it is that you're doing that by sharing your work and getting it discovered and then making those connections. So there's many other ways other than just blind submitting, because blind submitting is nothing but a numbers game, because people don't know you per se. Your work is just going to be in like a whole pile of other work. So
and there's always that chance of they don't know your name, so they're just going to skip it and not even look at it. And
so once you make that connection, that's huge. And that's a great tip for other writers as well, is to go out there and collaborate or commune, build a fellowship, and things like that. So, I mean, that's why I built this podcast, is so that we all can come together, share some trade secrets per se, and share the process. But yeah, well, that's a wonderful, wonderful story. And I'm so glad I ran into you as well. And I have to say that I didn't read your work before I asked you to come on. The thing is that your enthusiasm is infectious. So I'm glad to have you on. And now that you shared your work and everything, it's beautiful. And like I said, I wish you the best of luck with all that. And I'm sure to follow you.
Oh, yeah. And I love talking. And if anyone hears this and wants to talk with me, I love sharing my poems. I love reading poems. Message me. We'll talk. I love it.
And on the show notes, I'll put all your contact information there.
Yeah.
And your poems and your publications, as well as your bio and your picture.
Well, thank you. I'm super honored you asked me to. I was so shocked. Like I'm still like figuring out the whole, like, cause and like I said, I don't like to be narcissistic, but it's super weird because people will be like, you're such a, you're getting there. You're so big. And, give me all these compliments. And I'm still think of myself as the little poet that no one knows. And so, everybody like tells me all these things and loves my poetry. And still, like, even when I get compliments, I'm still just honored and shocked and wow.
Well, you say you've been writing for a while, and you do read widely. So that's the formula to growing in your craft, basically, and just continue writing and sharing.
Yeah, and even and if you want me to be quiet, I will, because I ramble. But like bigger poets who I've been reading for a long time, who I like. Like poets for me are rock stars, like people are obsessed with actors and actresses and singers, and poets are my gods and goddesses. Right. So like bigger poets who I've like just adored forever, like speak to me now and compliment my work and everything. And that is like, and it leaves me speechless because I'm like, you are like, for me, you're on top of the world, and I'm still like digging. That's how I feel. I'm still digging. And I'll probably always feel like that because that's just me. And then for them to tell me, like, I really loved your poems, like someone who is super, I've cherished forever, actually read the manuscript at Copper Canyon Press. And they told me that they're like, it's amazing and other stuff. And I'm just like, I was just blown away. I was just, wow.
Well, keep doing what you do, for sure.
And thank you for letting me be on your podcast and to ramble. Because
you're not rambling at all.
Because I listen to some of them, and I'm just like, these poets are amazing, and then there's me. And I'm just
don't be self-deprecating. You're fine. You are, if people are coming to you and saying this and that, believe them, honey, because they,
But it's a great honor, that you even asked me because it shocked me, and it just was like. It was that awe moment that like, wow, you're asking me to do a podcast, and I'm just like, oh, so.
Well, that's awesome. And, do share widely because among your network, because then, it's more exposure for you and also all the poets and writers and artists on the podcast, Yeah. And this is for you guys, for sure.
Yeah. And I will share, I'll be obsessive. My first poetry featured reading I shared everywhere, and it was through Malika, her redheaded stepchild, and I told her, I was like, listen, I'm not being narcissistic, but out of all your poetry readings, mine has the most views, and it's just shocking. I was like, as
a publisher and podcaster, you want that, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and she was like, no, not at all. That's awesome. Congrats. I'm so excited for you. And I was just shocked because, I was going through there and I was watching others because she has a show every Thursday and she's brilliant and she has great poets. And next week this coming up Thursday is my friend Ethel Zine. Yes, I'm totally promoting
there you go.
No, but I've been there every week, except for a couple for like the last 3 months. I've become obsessed with it. It's like family, you know. We talk and we goof off, and then the feature poet reads, and then we ask questions, and then there's open mic, and it's the best. It's one of the best places I've been, and so I make it a point to go there every week. And she's awesome. And if you want, you can put my video in the description.
Absolutely. Yeah, send it over and I'll post that up for you. Yeah.
And people can see, you know, her show too, and go there and everything, because she's really sweet and she's fun, and it's a great place. And yeah, she was the first person to give me a chance to do a featured reading. So awesome. And then you're my first podcast, so you have the honor of being my first podcast.
Oh, I'm so honored. Yes. Well, John, it's been great catching up with you, and I wish you the very best of luck, and stay in touch, okay?
Of course. Yes.
Well, everyone, that is it for now. Please tune in next week for my next featured guest. In the meantime, have a productive and creative week. Bye, John.
Bye.